Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Do you ever feel that when you take your car or your bike in for a service, that nothing was ever done? Well, I'm getting emails and messages about this particular subject where people think they're paying £200, £400 for a service and nothing's getting done to their bike or car. That's what we're talking about today. So I'm currently at Euston Station in London, been doing some work in London, and all I can smell in the air is weed. Little weed. Remember Little Weed? Anyway, and people look so sad as they walk around London. It's unbelievable. However, let's get on to the subject in hand. So people are emailing me and getting in touch and saying, here we go. Monitored 24 hours a day. That means nothing. So what's actually happening is that they fear that when they're taking their bike in for a service, be it the first service or an annual service and things like that, that nothing's actually getting done and they're paying their money for nothing really. I'm not sure this is widespread. I really am not sure this is widespread. I mean, when I do any servicing on the bikes, I usually do it myself or I get my son to do it. I never take it into the shops. I've never have done. So I've never experienced this other than when I used to fly aeroplanes. And I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios on that. And let's talk about that. 1993, 1994, I was at an airfield in the UK. And, you know, you've got past the stage of where you watch every aircraft that lands. Yeah, I was flying at that time. And anyway, this particular aircraft came in and the whole tail section fell off as it landed. The whole tail section fell off and an investigation was performed. This is relevant. An investigation was performed and the engineering team that was supporting that particular aircraft hadn't been looking after it and had been taking all the money and they did virtually nothing. And ultimately the frame of the aircraft had rotted away, never been picked up, and the tail section fell off on landing. Fortunately, the people in the aeroplane were fine. There was no major problems. It made a real mess of the runway. Only a few weeks ago, did a helicopter lose its tail section and everything else and came down in the Hudson in New York. One of the helicopters, the CEO of Siemens and his family was in that aircraft. The whole tail section came off. The tail, the boom, and ultimately that must have sent some catastrophic shock through the system and the whole gearbox for the main rotor and the main rotor came away in one piece. The whole gearbox came out and ultimately the main body of the helicopter came down and ultimately, sadly, everybody was killed. They're already looking into this and based on early notions, they seem to fear that the servicing had not been done. This is relevant. This coffee is absolutely wonderful at Euston Station. There's a little coffee shop there. So the point here is, in the Western world, in 1993, 1994, in the UK especially, and right now, we are in a recession and no one's admitting it. No one is admitting it. And when a recession hits, businesses do strange things. Like take your vehicle in for a service, sign off and stamp the service schedule and do nothing and just take the cash. From an aircraft perspective, they're the first ones to come down. And a number of aircraft, certainly in America, have recently come down. And after further investigation, we'll find out why. But that's another subject. What the point I'm trying to make is, with the UK has actually been in a recession for quite a while, but no one's admitting this. No one seems to be wanting to talk about this. No one wants to admit it for whatever reason. I've certainly felt it. You've probably felt it. Tell me your experience in the comments below. Do you think we're in a recession or not in the UK? Is the US in a recession or not? Tell me in the comments. How do you feel about this? I'm sorry I'm shaking around. But yeah, so if I had a body shop or a mechanic shop or whatever, I would possibly, if I was a little ruthless, I would possibly stamp a service schedule booklet to say it was done, take the money, don't bother changing the oil or the filters. Would you? Well, I personally wouldn't, and I've never owned a body shop or a mechanic shop. I've never owned that. So, have you experienced this where you've taken your vehicle in, especially a motorbike, for a service and you fear that the service has not been done? Am I talking absolute rubbish or not? Just tell me. It just feels a bit strange. Yeah. I remember in 1993-94, I was stood alongside the runway. Well, not too close to the runway. Obviously, you can't go there. But this aircraft landed, and a big bang happened, and I turned around and looked at this tail section sliding down the runway, with the main body of the aircraft just landed on its three wheels. It had just landed, fortunately, before the tail section fell off. No one was injured. No one was injured, yeah? Of course, from a CAA perspective, Civil Aviation Authority perspective, an investigation would have been performed, which then looked at the history of the aircraft and then went backwards and backwards and backwards and found that from a service perspective, it had a service however many months previous and that nothing had been done, yeah? Ultimately, that engineering team, the engineering organisation that serviced that particular aircraft, shut down. It did shut down. No one wanted to use them anymore. Now, I'm not scaremongering that aircraft are flying around where they're not serviced. I'm not scaremongering. I'm just looking at this from a different perspective. The point here is, I always service my motorcycles, whether they're in warranty or out of warranty, but I do evidence them I do evidence the service when it's in warranty, so that if there are any issues, and with Triumph I've never had an issue, but I've never had to return a motorcycle back to Triumph whilst in warranty and me having serviced it. I've never had an issue. I always service my own. I have a choice. I either pay £40 or £50 for a service, or however much a service costs. How much does a service cost now on a Triumph T120? I don't know. How much does it cost an annual service? You tell me in the comments below. It must be somewhere between, I don't know, £150 and £300. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, I can smell weed. I can smell lots of weed. And it's like, when I got here this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, bearing in mind it's currently 5:45 in the evening whilst I wait for my train back north up to Stafford. I can smell weed, and I see the look on all these dystopian people. They look so sad. I feel like standing up with a placard saying, buy a motorcycle, it'll make you feel better. If you know what I mean. You know what they say. You never see motorcycles out of a psychotherapist's office. Don't know. Tell me your thoughts on that one. My goodness. So, what do you think? Have you ever had a bike serviced, if you got this far, have you ever had a bike serviced and you thought, hang on, I'm not sure anything's been done. What's your thoughts? Look at that. If you're interested, I'm using my DJI Pocket 3 and I think it works okay. I'm going to get some B-roll to shove in here so you can have a look at what Euston Station looks like and all the sad faces that you can see. I came to London a bit wary of what wristwatch to wear, so I wore my 1993, was it 1992 Breitling Aerospace, yeah? And then hopefully from there, no one's going to chop my hand off and steal it. Apparently there's a problem in London where if you wear nice watches, people want to steal them. I haven't experienced that. The only real negative thing in London that I've experienced is one, the sad faces, two, the weed, but more importantly, the chaos on people with push bikes, with bicycles. It's absolute madness. They're just going through lights and they're going at such a speed. With some of these electric bikes are flying and they're not wearing helmets. Okay, I can understand them not wanting to wear a helmet, but these bikes are flying and they're dodging people who are trying to cross roads. It's absolute madness when it comes to the bicycles and the push bikes as well. And I haven't got anything against push bikes, I'm just saying, in London, it's a bit madness. It's a bit of a crazy world. Another thing I noticed, all these sad people are wearing very, very expensive headphones to keep themselves away from the world. I'm using these original wired Apple earphones, which are absolutely great. They're absolutely great. The sound on them is absolutely magnificent. And, you know, they came with the phone, with a phone. I mean, I'm on an Apple 14 now, Apple iPhone 14, but they must have come with an Apple, I don't know, Apple iPhone 9. And these are absolutely brilliant. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, these are absolutely brilliant. No one is wearing wired earphones. I am the only one that's wearing wired earphones. What do you think? I am an old man. I've also been to the bike shed. I'll put a screenshot up for that. And but I've also been to the bike shed, the shop. Hang on, hang on. Oh. I've also been to the bike shed and bought a couple of t-shirts, one for me and one for the other half, and that was nice. I should have really done some footage there, but I didn't feel comfortable enough, and you've got to feel comfortable when you're doing footage, so you know. But they were great guys, having a really good chat with them. Next time I need to come down on the motorbike on a Sunday when the roads and the motorways are a bit quieter. Maybe. Or as we're passing through on our way to the Czech Republic or returning back from the Czech Republic, might be an idea to call in at that point. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Mark, Charlie, are you listening? That would be a good idea. But yeah, really nice guys there. I'll put a flash up of the bike shed. I think there's one in London and one in Los Angeles, I think. I'm not sure if it's Los Angeles, I may be wrong. But yeah, they were great guys, and there's a nice restaurant there and all that good stuff. Loads of clothing, loads of motorcycle gear, helmets and everything. But wonderful people, wonderful. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was informative. Do comment below on this subject. I know I come up with controversial subjects, and this is yet another one. ride safely, be kind to everyone, and eat healthily. I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.